Hi, my name's Stuart Lynch. If you've installed Xcode 27 and think DeviceHub is just a redesigned simulator, well then think again. In this video, I'll show you how DeviceHub completely changes the way you work with simulators and physical devices, and how the new DeviceCTL command line tool lets you automate many of those same tasks. DeviceHub in Xcode 27 is the new simulator and so much more. It ships with Xcode 27. In this video, I'll show you what DeviceHub replaces and consolidates, how the compact and full modes fit into everyday development, and how to test appearance, accessibility, location, orientation, and device sizes quickly. We'll work with a real iPhone, Apple Watch app and show you how you can recreate real device test states by matching app data and configuration. And I'll finish this tutorial to show you how a new command line tool, DeviceCTL, can automate the same class of tasks. So there is a starter project for the tutorial if you want to work along with me. You can find it on GitHub, and you can either clone the repository or download and expand the zip file. The sample app is something that I had Codex vibe code for me, so I take no ownership of the quality of the code. Altitude Recovery is a simple companion app created specifically for this DeviceHub demonstration. It stores workout data, uses location and elevation to provide recovery advice, and syncs that information to an Apple Watch. And this gives us a practical way to test configurations, transfer app data, and compare physical devices with simulators. So I'm going to choose to run this project on an iPhone 17 Pro simulator. And you can see in Xcode, we still have all those choices for our installed simulators and devices. When I run now, though, something different happens. Instead of the simulator app that you already know, Xcode opens this. It's DeviceHub. Now, at first glance, you might think that Apple has simply redesigned simulator. But DeviceHub is a much bigger change than that. It brings simulated devices, physical devices, configuration, app management, and diagnostics into one place. This app uses your location, so permission is required. Now, I've pre-populated it with 4 workouts, and the current location has not yet been set in the simulator. The second tab shows those 4 workouts, and that demo tab will allow you to either clear or reset the sample data. So when I build and run Altitude Recovery, DeviceHub opens in what's called Compact Window. This is a deliberately simple device screen that has a title bar and a small set of controls. And I can interact with the app using my mouse or trackpad. Along the bottom, I have controls that I need most often, including the home, screenshots, where it will save a screenshot immediately to your desktop that you can open up. There's also video recording and device rotation. And these controls are contextual. An iPhone, an Apple Watch, an Apple TV, and Apple Vision Pro don't have the same hardware. So DeviceHub changes the controls to match the platform. And we'll see this later when we launch an Apple Watch target. For a normal build and run work, compact mode may be all you need. It stays out of the way and feels familiar. But the more interesting part is beyond this expand button, which we'll see in a minute. The 2 device and control menus give you a full list of options to manage your sessions. And these menus combined contain more or less the same options that were formerly in the device, I/O, and features menus in the simulator. For the device menu, you have things like restart to shutdown, to setting different accessibility options and appearance modes. And these options are not unlike the ones that you had in the simulator. They also include the ability to set device location, which we'll get to shortly. If you choose to enter resize mode here, you're basically told that you can't do that in compact mode, so we'll inspect this later. Just as an aside, I'm running Xcode 27 still on macOS 26, so you're still seeing an icon beside every single menu option. But when running on macOS 27, however, this has changed and the developer can be more selective as to where the icons appear. Or you can control the keyboard just as you did with the simulator. And from here, you can pair an Apple Watch, which we'll be doing shortly, but from a different location in Device Hub. Now there is one menu that's missing, and that's the Erase All Content and Settings menu, but I'll show you how to do that later on. The Control menu has the options that you would expect, and some of these duplicate the actions on the buttons below in the simulator. If you use them a lot, you might want to make note of the keyboard shortcuts. The buttons on the simulator are active as well, so you can tap or long press on them too, just like this long press on the Action button. Or you can set the volume up or down. And a single tap over here will lock the device. While a long press invokes Siri. And if you've configured your input and output using the device menu's sound options, you can speak and get a response back from Siri. What is the weather like in Cupertino today?
Should be sunny in Cupertino, United States today.
What is the weather in Vancouver today?
Expect rain in Vancouver, Canada today.
Now I'm running Xcode 27 Beta 4, and at the time of this writing, the Siri interface is the old one, both when I'm running on macOS 26 and 27, because it has a different look now running on a device running iOS 27. Perhaps that'll change in a later beta. And finally, there's more menu here, gives you some other options. Tapping on this button here gets you into the full expanded mode. And it has 3 areas. On the left side is the sidebar, and this is the inventory of simulated and physical devices known to the Mac. And I can filter it to focus on a particular type of device. Let's focus on available simulated devices. And notice it's obvious as to which one is currently loaded and started up. In the center is the canvas, and this is the live interactive device screen. Above it are controls for capturing the keyboard, which sends the Mac keyboard input directly to the selected device or simulator, and Capture Keyboard is useful for text entry, keyboard shortcuts, and hardware keyboard support. And it's extremely useful, as you'll see, where you can actually connect it and interact directly with your real device with this too. There's this new one here, which is the Resize mode for testing resizable interfaces. Tapping this button lets you actually resize the device in both directions to see how it will look on any existing or future screen that Apple may produce. When not in resize mode, the zoom buttons work, allowing you to zoom out or in, viewing the device at 1-to-1 physical size or size to fit. The physical side option is useful because a layout that looks comfortable on a large monitor may feel very different at real-world dimensions. And the More menu here is identical to the one in compact mode. Of course, you can collapse the left pane to free up more space for the canvas, and you can see that rotating the device from this button below here, the simulator, works very nicely. On the right is the inspector, and this is where Device Hub becomes much more than a screen viewer. The settings area here lets me change appearance and behavior without hunting through the settings app. I can switch between light and dark appearances. And this is easier for me than going to the device menu and choosing the appearance from here. Now, if I exit to the home screen, you'll notice that I can adjust the liquid glass level and see the difference here, although it is fairly slight. Back in the app now, we can change color filters, like displaying your device in grayscale. You can change text sizes this way, which allows you to quickly see what others may be seeing when running your app with different text sizes have been selected. And there's a full range of other accessibility related settings as well. I particularly like the ability to quickly simulate conditions such as location and adjust audio options. The changes happen immediately, which makes this very effective for visual testing. For example, let me change my location to somewhere like Johannesburg. And my app responds because it's monitoring the core location and altitude. The diagnostic area collects reports such as crashes and spins. And if an app hangs or crashes, this is a natural place to begin investigating. And the remaining panel covers device information. Here you can see the installed apps, and right here I'm displaying only the developer-based apps. However, you can also display or view all apps on the device or simulator, or any app clips that may be installed. Let me go back to displaying my 3 developer apps. You can check details such as the model and the storage, install or remove apps, and work with app data containers. So as you'll see shortly, this option of accessing the app's container is going to be very helpful. You can add, manage, and test different configurations or provisioning profiles. Well, since this application also has a watch target, let's see how we can use DeviceHub for that. So currently there are no watch simulators paired with this iPhone 17 Pro. So let's do that now from here. And immediately it spawns a new window for that watch simulator, and we can start it up. Notice that now in the background window, we can see 2 active simulators running. And that means that we don't really need this window. I could go back to the main device hub and switch between the 2 active simulators, or I could simply do it here in this one. But sometimes it's nice to have 2 different windows. The buttons are different in the watch simulator, but they are also fully functional as the ones were for the iPhone. So let me return to Xcode then and switch to the watch target. Now, I don't want to run on my Apple Watch. I want to run on that simulator. So to be sure, let me expand the watch simulator once more and check out the device ID. And then back in Xcode, I want to make sure that I select the one with that ID. Now let me run. And I'm going to rearrange each of these in Device Hub windows and place them both in compact mode. So I can see that the watch simulator has received the information from the iPhone app. On the iPhone, I'm going to go to the Workouts tab, and I'm going to add a new workout like this. Now there are 5 workouts. Back on the watch, I can see that new hike has been added and it's been transferred to the watch as well. Let's return to Device Hub, and you can see that no simulators here are currently running now. And what is more important is that Xcode is not running either. Device Hub can be run with or without Xcode running. Now, I've already installed on my phone the demo app and on the watch as well. So let me first mirror the iPhone to the screen here using Bezel so that I don't have to capture a video feed of me and my phone. I'm also going to resize Device Hub so that I can see both together. And let me switch to display devices. You can see that my 3 available devices are here, and there's one that is not. And all these devices have been set with developer mode turned on. Now I'm going to select my iPhone 16 Pro in Device Hub, and I'm going to start it up. And now we're seeing the exact same screen as my real device on the right. And interacting with my iPhone on the right, that's me swiping, immediately renders it on Device Hub. And what's even more amazing is that I can use my keyboard and mouse in Device Hub to control my iPhone. So let me launch Altitude Recovery. Everything I do in Device Hub controls my phone. And this includes such things as switching between light and dark modes from the inspector. And I find this feature outstanding. In Device Hub, let me open the Weather app, where it displays the current weather here in Vancouver. So let me check the weather in Berlin. Notice how my phone switches location too? This is actually brilliant. Now it looks like a nice day in London. So back in the app now, let me show you that I have 3 different workouts from what our simulator had. So let me add a new cycle workout, and I'm doing this right from Device Hub, and it's being added on my phone. I can use the keyboard to quickly enter data or my mouse to tap on different buttons. Now I've also installed the app on my paired Apple Watch, so let me start it up too. Now I'm not mirroring my real Apple Watch here, but trust me, I am controlling it through Device Hub. And as you can see, that new cycle activity has been entered here too. Now let me go back to the iPhone, and I'm going to filter on developer apps only. And you can see that I have quite a few. These are not only my apps, but also apps that I've installed through TestFlight. They are still developer apps. So I'm going to right-click on the Altitude Recovery app, and I'm going to choose Download from the App Container menu. So this allows me to save the entire container from my phone. And that container contains the entire contents of that application. Now, what if I wanted to view this content on another device that I don't own? So let me switch to simulators here in Device Hub, and I'm going to start up an iPhone 17 Pro that we were working on. And you can see that it has that different set of workouts. So I want to replace these with what I have on my real phone. So let me remove the app from memory now. Just do a double click and swipe up. And then in Inspector, I'm going to right click on that app. And then from the app container menu, this time I'm going to choose Replace It. And I'll choose the one that I just exported from my iPhone. So when I launch this app now in the simulator, I see that the contents are identical to what I have on my phone. So this is wonderful because now I can more easily test out real data on any simulator that I choose. And then one final thing here, if you recall, we didn't have the ability to erase all content and settings from our device menu. What you need to do is first shut down any simulator that you want to reset. And then once you do that, you can right-click on the simulator in the side panel and choose Reset Contents and Settings right here. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. And be sure to subscribe to my channel and enable notifications. You can also subscribe to my newsletter that comes out on Wednesdays 2 or 3 times a month. I'll leave a link in the description. The newsletter will tell you about my current and future videos, along with other things that I discover along my coding and personal journey that I think you might find interesting. If you enjoy my content and you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee. A link's in the description. And if you become a $5 a month monthly member, you can get access to all of my videos, sometimes up to a month before they're released on YouTube. Well, everything we've done so far has been visual, and that's perfect when I'm exploring an issue. But what if I need to repeat the same preparation every day, include it in a script, or produce structured output for another tool? And that's where DeviceCTL comes in. With the simulator, we had SimCTL, the command line tool that let you interact with the simulator. And I'm assuming that's how tools like Rocket Sim work. Now we have DeviceCTL. And it's built on the same underlying core device technology used by DeviceHub, and it can discover and manage devices, inspect information, install apps, change settings, capture diagnostics, and more. So I'm going to quit DeviceHub entirely, and I'm going to bring up a new terminal window. And I've expanded the screen and made the font a little larger here, but this is still just the default terminal app. So the command is DeviceCTL, and it gets installed when you set that up in Xcode. And you can discover what it can do by issuing the help option, which is --help. And like most terminal commands, but not all, options can often just use a single dash or the first or designated letter of that option. So here I'm using the long form, and you can see the help with the option of -h also works. But there's also a number of subcommands available, and one of these is list. So I wonder what it does. So I can use the up arrow on my last command, backspace, and then add the subcommand, and just use -h to get help on that command. I see that it too has a number of subcommands for which I could get help. But let me first clear the screen with the Command K, then I'll up arrow the last command and take a chance and just issue the list devices subcommand. Now I'm seeing all of the devices that were listed in the sidebar in the Device Hub. I see the name and identifier, but also the state, the model, and reality. And the reality tells me if it's a physical device or a simulator. And I can see all the simulators are shut down, and 3 of the 4 physical devices are available. I do have 2 iPhone 17 Pros, but I can't tell what OS they're running from this listing. So I want more information so that I can find the one running iOS 27. So let me copy the identifier for one of them. Now I recall that DeviceCTL has a device submenu, so let me get some help on it. One of its submenus is info, so let me get help on it. Now it has a submenu called details, and it looks like what I want, so let me get help on it to find out how I can execute the command. And the usage section tells me I'll need to specify this with the device options, and I can see that I can either use device or -d followed by a number of options, and one of them is the device ID, which I have on my clipboard. So I'm going to copy this command here now then, and replace --device with just -d. And since I copied this command, I've replaced the ID on my clipboard. Fortunately, I use Alfred, which has a clipboard manager that lets me go back and get earlier copies. So I can just choose this, which was my ID. And now I get the full information on this device. But it's not the one I was looking at or working on before. This one's running iOS 26.5. So let me scroll back up, and I'm going to copy the ID of the other iPhone 17 Pro. And I'll repeat the command, but I'll just replace the ID. This is the device I was looking for, and I can see all of the information about the device right here. Now, there were some other options that I could have used too, and one of them was to save the information out as a JSON file. What I need to do is just use the -j JSON option, and then specify a path, like to my desktop, in a file called iPhone 17 Pro.json. And when I press enter, this displays the information again on the screen, but it also saves a JSON file to my desktop, which I can open and see. So I could use this format here, perhaps in another application. Now, drilling down on this help is tedious. So what I did with the help of Codex is to extract the help into a simple README file that I've made available on GitHub. And it lists every single one of the commands and its subcommands drilling all the way down. You can find a link in the description. So this allows me to go directly to a subcommand like this one here for the status bar. At the end of each one, you can always go back to the top. So here is the where we got to for our device info details, 3 levels down. Well, DeviceCTL is not only great for fetching information about a device or a simulator, it's also great for managing available devices and for controlling. For example, let me drop down to the device settings appearance subcommand. Here, if I specify one of the options and a device ID, I can make changes. And one of those is the ability to set the mode to be either light or dark. So now that I have this information, let me go back to Terminal and get my listing again. All of my simulators are shut down, but I see that my physical devices are available. So let me copy the ID of my phone. And I'm going to resize this window now and bring back the mirror of my iPhone here so that you can see that I'm in light mode displaying the Notes app, and I want to change my phone to dark mode without touching it. So now in Terminal, let me just clear the screen and type that base command of DeviceCTL, device settings, appearance, followed by the mode option, which had no shortcut, so I'll need both -- mode. And then I can follow this with the mode that I want, which is to set it to dark, followed by a -D for device, and then specify device, which is the ID which I have on my clipboard. So when I press enter, my phone changes to dark mode. Device Hub is not even running. And I can switch it back to light mode. So let me try this on one of the simulators. So let me grab the ID for the iPhone 17 Pro. And I can do that list command again. And I can copy the ID and then modify the last command to change the ID and choose to set it to dark mode. Well, this doesn't work. Of course, that makes sense. The simulators will need to be running in Device Hub. So let me just open up Device Hub one more time and start up that specific simulator. And let me switch to compact mode and move it over. Now let me reissue that command one more time. And it works. Great. So that's it. For this video, I hope you can see that Device Hub is much more than a replacement for Simulator. It brings devices, simulators, configuration, diagnostics, and app management into one consistent workspace. And with DeviceCTL, many of those same tasks can be automated. Together, they should make testing and reproducing issues much faster. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. And also, please check out my website. You'll be able to search my full collection of YouTube videos and watch them in line. You'll also find all of my apps, not only those on the App Store, but also the free ones available on Gumroad and GitHub. And finally, you'll discover my blog posts, also fully searchable by title or keyword.